Ravens fan, this season left a bitter taste, didn't it? The team had incredible moments, looked ready to fight for the Super Bowl, but in the end, something went wrong. Losses that shouldn't have happened, mistakes in crucial moments, and wasted opportunities cost a lot. And the worst part? All of this could have been avoided. What really happened? Where did the Ravens go wrong? And most importantly, what does this mean for the future? If you want to understand why this season ended in frustration and how small details changed everything, stick around until the end. This story will surprise you. Go Ravens! The Ravens had a season full of ups and downs, but in the end, it felt like they could have gone further. The team won the AFC North, had Lamar Jackson playing at an MVP level, and featured Derrick Henry as one of the best running backs in the league. But despite all that, there was a sense of disappointment. Bleacher Report gave the team a B-plus grade, meaning the Ravens were good but not great. For a team that started the year as one of the top Super Bowl contenders, this grade shows that something was missing along the way. Looking at what went right, the Ravens showed they have a strong and competitive roster. The offense performed well throughout the year, with a dominant running game and a more mature Lamar leading the team. The defense, despite some struggles, found its rhythm late in the season. The problem? When it mattered most, the team fell short. Games that should have been easy wins ended in unexpected losses, and in the playoffs, they couldn't bring their best game. This inconsistency played a major role in their final grade. If the Ravens had been more consistent, their grade could have been much different. Small details made a big impact and prevented them from securing a better position in the playoffs. The path to the Super Bowl was open, but they failed to take that final step to turn potential into reality. The feeling is that the team was ready for something bigger, but slipped at the wrong moments. A B-plus is a good grade, but for a team with this much talent, an A should have been within reach. So, what had the biggest impact on the Ravens not reaching that level? Some unexpected losses proved costly and put the team in a tougher playoff position. If Baltimore had won certain games that seemed in the bag, the outcome could have been completely different. Those costly losses made the road much harder, and that's exactly what we need to talk about next. There are games you simply can't afford to lose, and the Ravens let two matchups slip away that changed the course of their season. The loss to the Raiders, a team that won only 4 games all year, and the loss to the Browns, who finished 3-14, were huge mistakes. If Baltimore had won those games, they could have secured a much better playoff spot, maybe even the AFC's number 1 seed. Instead, they had to rely on the Pittsburgh Steelers' slump to win the division. Depending on other teams is never a good sign. These losses exposed a season-long issue for the Ravens: inconsistency. In some games, they looked unstoppable, dominating opponents and proving they had Super Bowl potential. But in other moments, they made baffling mistakes that led to losses that simply shouldn't have happened. The offense struggled, the defense failed in crucial moments, and the team let games slip away that, on paper, should have been easy wins. That's exactly what happened against the Raiders and Browns. And these losses didn't just hurt their regular season. They reshaped their playoff path. If the Ravens had won those games, they would have finished with a better record and a much easier road in the postseason. That would have meant more home field advantage and avoiding tough early playoff matchup. Instead, Baltimore had to face the Bills on the road in the divisional round, a game that could have been completely different if it had been played at M&T Bank Stadium. Every regular season loss impacts the playoffs, and these slip-ups put the Ravens in an unnecessarily difficult spot. The team needed more consistency to avoid these traps throughout the year, but that didn't happen. The defense, which was one of the team's strengths, had shaky moments that proved costly. If they had been more solid in a few key games, maybe the Ravens' fate would have been different. And that brings us to another crucial point: how Zach Orr's defense had its ups and downs throughout the season, and how that influenced the team's result. The Ravens' defense had flashes of brilliance throughout the year, but it also had costly breakdowns. Under first-year defensive coordinator Zach Orr, the unit struggled early, especially against the pass. This allowed opponents to exploit gaps in coverage and move the ball more easily than expected. But as the season progressed, the defense made adjustments and finished at a much higher level than it started. The problem? Those early season struggles resurfaced at the worst possible time. In the playoffs against the Bills, the defense couldn't control the game and struggled to contain Josh Allen. Throughout the regular season, Baltimore showed they could be one of the league's best defenses, but inconsistency remained a problem. In some games, they were dominant, forcing turnovers and shutting down opposing offenses. In others, they gave up big plays and failed to close out games that were within their grasp. This inconsistency made the unit unreliable when it mattered most. A lack of quick in-game adjustments also hurt the Ravens. In games against the Raiders and Browns, the defense struggled against offenses that, on paper, shouldn't have been much of a challenge. In the playoff matchup against Buffalo, they couldn't stop the Bills in key moments, which ultimately led to their elimination. Having a strong offense isn't enough if the defense can't hold leads or make stops when needed. If the defense had been more consistent throughout the year, the Ravens might have secured a better record and avoided some costly losses. That could have changed everything in the playoffs, giving them a more favorable position. And that leads us to another crucial factor: how home field advantage could have completely changed Baltimore's postseason run. Well, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but I just realized you haven't hit the like button yet. That's super important to help YouTube keep recommending my content to you, so I can keep bringing you more Ravens updates. So go ahead and drop a like. It's free. All right, let's keep going. Playing at home in the playoffs makes all the difference, and the Ravens lost that edge due to avoidable stumbles. If they had won those games against the Raiders and Browns, they could have finished with the second or even the first seed in the AFC. That would have meant playing more games at M&T Bank Stadium, where the team feels more comfortable and has the support of the fan. Instead, Baltimore had to travel to Buffalo and face a hostile environment in the divisional round. That detail might have been decisive in their elimination. At home, the Ravens tend to be a much more dangerous team. The crowd noise makes communication difficult for opponents, and the weather can be a significant factor against teams not used to playing in Baltimore. If the game against the Bills had been at M&T Bank Stadium, the outcome could have been entirely different. The team would have had a more favorable environment and possibly a better performance, increasing their chances of reaching the AFC Championship. Small details make the difference in the playoffs, and this advantage could have been crucial. Additionally, securing the first seed would have meant a bye in the first round of the playoffs. That would have given the players more time to rest and prepare for the crucial games, something that could have made a difference against Buffalo. Teams with this advantage usually arrive fresher at the final stretch, while those playing from the wild card round have to exert much more effort to reach the Super Bowl. For the Ravens, missing that opportunity was a costly mistake. Baltimore had everything to secure an easier path, but wasted the chances they had throughout the season. In the end, it left the feeling that the team could have gone much further if they had capitalized on their opportunity. And that's exactly the sentiment that sums up the Ravens season. The frustration of knowing they had the potential for more, but couldn't turn it into a Super Bowl run. If there's one word that defines the Ravens season, it's frustration. The team had great moments, proved to be one of the best in the league, and seemed ready to compete for the Super Bowl. But in the end, it felt like something was missing. Small mistakes, unexpected losses, and failures in decisive moments prevented Baltimore from reaching its full potential. It was a team capable of winning a championship, but couldn't turn that into reality. Looking at what went right, the team had an efficient offense, a defense that showed its strength at key moments, and a roster full of talent. But having a good team on paper isn't enough if the wins don't come when they matter most. The Ravens struggled to close out games they should have won and paid the price for it in the playoffs. A small detail here, a mistake there, and the road became much harder than it needed to be. The difference between a good team and a championship team lies in the ability to seize opportunities. Baltimore had chances to secure an easier path in the playoffs, but didn't take them. As a result, they faced unnecessary challenges and fell short before reaching the AFC Championship. In the end, the season was good, but not enough to achieve the ultimate goal. Now, the lesson for the future is clear. The Ravens showed they have the talent to compete for a title, but need to correct the mistakes that kept them from going further. The challenge now is to turn this frustration into motivation and come back even stronger next season. The Ravens had a season that could have been historic, but a few missteps proved costly. Avoidable losses, defensive lapses, and questionable decisions caused the team to fall short when they seemed poised to go further. Even with outstanding performances from Lamar Jackson, a dominant defense in the AFC North title, the feeling remains that they could have achieved more. Now the big question is, what needs to change for the Ravens to finally take the next step and reach the Super Bowl? Do you think it was inconsistency, individual mistakes, or issues with the game plan? Leave your comment, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything about the Ravens.